Spencer German, Anthony Moeglin alongside as we continue to react to the Browns' 20-17 win over the Chicago Bears in Week 15 as they improved to 9-5 on the season. And Anthony, we dropped the ball in our instant reaction. We barely talked about one of the signature performances of the day, David Njoku, who was just absolutely phenomenal in this game. He had maybe one drop. There was a play, I think, in the second half where he dropped a pass. Go-to guy. He finishes the day with 10 catches, 104 yards, and a touchdown. And the touchdown play was also pretty remarkable. He basically mossed the safety that was covering him at the time and tiptoed along the back of the end zone for the score. I mean, the guy was amazing today. And my perspective on just him in general, Anthony, has always been like, yeah, he had the drop issues early in his career. He worked to correct those. He was better. They still pop up every now and then. In the recent weeks, we had seen that. But Njoku feels like, to me, one of those guys that you take the good with the bad, because when he gives you the good, it's like really good. And that's what I think we saw today.
The good is so good. It's top tier NFL tight end play. Like he's now in that elite group of dudes because of the way, and it hasn't been given to him. Like he is, like you said, it came in and he had a very obvious problem catching the football, but he grinded it out. And what's most impressive is that he's such a willing blocker in the run game. And like throughout his whole career, like think of his whole career to this point. It's like, hey, this team goes through Nick Chubb. And it's like, hey, you'll block and you'll kind of get the scraps a little bit, even in the Odell years, like, hey, he's going to get the lion's share of targets and we're going to try to pass it. And David was always kind of in the back seat. And then this year, with all this turmoil, all these injuries and this and that, guys playing, guys not playing, there's been one constant, and it's been David Njoku. Like the guy played with a burned off face. And that's like legit, like not even kidding.
Myles Garrett called him. He called it like the Two-Face thing, like from Batman. Like that's what they called the incident, the Two-Face situation. Yes. I was like, I guess we can laugh about it now in that way, but at the time it was obviously very serious. But you're right. Like he put his butt. He was playing with like raw burns on his face. And he went out and played a game, and he led the team in receiving that day. That was the Baltimore Ravens DTR first start game. Like, guy is just a warrior. And I like that you bring up the point on him blocking because I think early in his career, I think he wasn't necessarily bought into that. Like, he wanted to be the star tight end, catching all the passes, doing all these things. And Kevin Stefanski and others have just raved about how bought in he became on, I can still impact the game in this way. And he's, I think, one of the best pass blocking or run blocking tight ends in the NFL. On top of then, when he does get used in the passing game, good luck bringing that guy down.
Dude, he's insane. Like everything he does. And like the thing that's the best about him is like, okay, his stats today, 10 catches, 104 yards, 1 touchdown. And his average catch was about over 10 yards a catch. So he was more of like, hey, we're going to give short completions. We need to move the sticks. We need you, David, in big spots. Whereas it wasn't the big home runs today. But when the chips were down, where did Joe Flacco go? He went to David Njoku. On that final drive, he had 3 catches for, I don't know the exact yardage, but 3 straight huge, massive plays where, hey, we are going to drive this team to victory behind David Njoku because he's the heart and soul of this group. Yeah. He's the leader of this group. He's the one guy who's been consistent throughout from week 1 to week 15 now. And he's just, he is when you think of this Cleveland Browns team, you think of David Njoku because of what he is to this group. And it's pretty darn special.
Yeah. And I had him catching 2 passes on that final drive that they led that way. They went down the field to kick the eventual game-winning field goal. One of them was for over 30 yards. It was a big play that basically got them into field goal range. And then they were kind of just setting Dustin Hopkins up from the length that he wanted from there. I mean, a tremendous effort from him. And he's kind of been a constant in this offense. Like amidst all the turmoil at the quarterback position, he's been a guy that pretty much all 4 quarterbacks knew that they could count on in different spots. I think it maybe took Deshaun a little bit of time to get used to that or figure that out. But towards the tail end of his time this season playing, he was starting to use him a lot more. And I think Flacco's used him, DTR's used him. Like, it has been remarkable to watch just his evolution as a player and how much they count on him to be involved in key moments like we saw on that eventual game-winning drive. He is truly like a heart and soul type guy on this team and of this offense. Another interesting note from this game, I know it was the first time with Njoku's numbers and with Amari Cooper's numbers. It was the first time since 2013 that two Browns pass catchers had over 100 yards receiving in a game. The duo to do that, I wish we were live because I would ask somebody to comment and give us what their guess was as to who that was. I gave you the year, so it might be a giveaway. But the answer is Josh Gordon and Jordan Cameron. So another tight end wide receiver duo. But that tells you how long it's been since we've been able to talk about two Browns pass catchers going for over 100 yards.
Amazing. Just absolutely amazing from both of those guys. And, you know, it was one of those things where you watch that game and it's not going well. It's not going well all game. But when the stars needed to be stars for the Browns, Njoku came up huge. And truthfully, he should have had another touchdown catch. The interception into the end zone.
Flacco was late on it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Super late on it, but should have had another touchdown catch. So in his last two games, he now has 3 touchdown catches. It's his 5th touchdown catch on the season, which is a career high for him. He's over 700 yards receiving. He's the team. He's just this leader of this football team, the leader of this offense. And today was like the perfect microcosm of it all. And in the biggest moment, 3rd and 12, right on that final drive, where does Flacco go? Goes to David Njoku, gets a huge chunk play. There's not enough there's not enough good things to say about number 85.
No doubt about it. And Kevin Stefanski, I think, brought up a good point after the game when he was asked about Njoku specifically that I want to sort of talk about before we get out of here with this conversation. But you know, and we've talked about this, I know, Megs, too, like getting the ball to your star players, getting the ball to your playmakers when you don't have Nick Chubb out there, when you're down a whole bunch of offensive linemen and you know that your playmakers are largely on the outside. Obviously, Njoku lines up inside a lot, but it's your pass catchers. You want the ball in their hands because good things are generally going to happen when you do that. So the point of emphasis, whether or not you agree that they should be throwing the ball 40 plus times and that it's maybe a little bit lopsided in terms of the run to pass ratio, which is true. Like the emphasis on getting the ball and the guys that are going to go win you football games is evident. And I think that's a big reason why the Browns are where they're at, even despite all the injuries, even despite all the problems that they've had and the adversity that they faced. It's because they're going to the guys that are going to help lift them to victory, and they're sitting at 9-5 because of it.
Yeah, the thing that comes to mind there is when coaches say players, not plays. Like we could have the best run game schemed up, but right now our best players aren't in the run game. Our best players are David Njoku. Our best players are Amari Cooper. Like get these dudes the ball, good things are going to happen. Really fun, a fun part of the Njoku game was when he and Stevenson both jumped into each other and started laughing at each other in the face. Like we've seen it 100 times where David Njoku can jump over a standing human being. But Stevenson met him. It was like Stevenson almost like had like in his brain, he's like, I don't know what to do. So he also jumped and they met halfway. That was a cool little moment there, but just Njoku dominated all game long.
By the way, I think it was Brisker who he mossed on in the end zone. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. Now it came to me finally. But yeah, just an incredible play. And yeah, I laughed at the what is he doing? Like I get it, I get it, David Njoku. Like you're an athletic freak. You can generally hurdle guys, but I was like, you're not going to hurdle this dude. He's standing straight up. I think he just tries to hurdle guys just to hurdle guys. Like I think he's like a thrill seeker. He's out there just trying to do somersaults into the end zone like we saw yesterday in the Lions game and just do crazy stuff just to do crazy stuff. I don't know.
It's like Barry Sanders' go-to move was a spin move, and like some guys' go-to moves are juke moves. Like David Njoku's like, all right, I'm in traffic. I'm just going to jump over people and see what happens.
As soon as he turns the field, he's looking for the first guy he can hurdle. That seems like what he's definitely doing. But yeah, a great game from both Njoku, and we mentioned Amari Cooper. He deserves a lot of credit too, because as much as Njoku's been sort of a go-to safety net for Flacco and all the quarterbacks this season, Amari Cooper's been very much the same, and he showed that today on the field, also scoring a touchdown, a big one. That ball, by the way, Flacco zipped it in between a couple defenders, and then Amari took it down the sideline. One of the best passes I think I've ever seen, and it's from 38-year-old Joe Flacco, still slinging it. My goodness, that was a tight window.
Flacco talked about it in his post-game presser, and he kind of like broke down the play, and it's very funny listening to him talk about it because he made a quote or he made a comment and said, I knew I would have a big window to hit him in. And I took you go to BrownsDigest Twitter. I took a screenshot of the window he was talking about. It was no bigger than 2 yards. And it was, you couldn't, I'm telling you, Spencer, you could not have walked out there and placed the ball in a better place than where he threw it. It was dead nuts perfect. And So
It's
good.
funny. It's funny from you, like D3 quarterback. You hear 2 yards, you're like, "That dude, that's not a big window." Like that
There,
tells you how at the NFL level, what a big window feels like to him is like not really that big to
and he
the
was
common
like,
person.
he was so nonchalant. He goes, "Oh, once he cleared the mic, I knew I'd have a big window with the other route on the other side." And you're like, look at the picture, and you're like, "That's not a big window." And Joe, you're a lunatic.
Well, for well for his arm, I guess it was a big window because he
Yeah.
had some zip on it still today, even in the elements, even in the cold weather. And we will spend some time talking more about Joe Flacco and this banged up Browns offensive line. Obviously, the Browns getting the job done regardless, 20-17. They get the win over the Bears. They're 9-5 on the season. Be sure to keep following along. We got plenty more content for you over at the Browns Digest YouTube page, and of course, as always, over at BrownsDigest.com.